Warning: there are spoilers in this review. Please watch at your own risk. All copyright belong to their respected owners. The highly anticipated sequel to Batman Arkham Asylum, known as Batman Arkham City, has been released. But how does the sequel stand up to its predecessor?
Wake up, Mr. Wayne. We have much to discuss.
Strange? You won't get away with this.
I already have.
The story of Arkham City takes place 1 year after the last game, where the mayor of Gotham has essentially created a large super prison within the small section of Gotham City, and is throwing all the criminals inside, walling them off from Gotham, calling this prison Arkham City. Our hero Bruce Wayne holds a press conference protesting the release of Arkham City and wanting to shut down the prison, implying that this prison will be far too dangerous as all of Gotham's criminals are close to the general populace of Gotham, therefore putting them at risk if all hell breaks loose.
Every inmate from Arkham Asylum and Blackgate Prison has been relocated to this facility. How can this be safe for the people of Gotham?
Shortly during the conference, Bruce Wayne is arrested and thrown into Arkham City by Professor Hugo Strange, who has taken residency as the head psychiatrist of Arkham City. Bruce Wayne, managing to escape from Strange and receive his suit through trusted butler Alfred, is now forced to tangle with the criminal populace of Arkham City. Batman is forced to stop Hugo Strange from commencing a plan known as Protocol 10.
I took an encryption key from a Tiger Guard. I'm going to hack into their communications.
Along the way, Batman will run across villains such as the Joker, the Penguin, Two-Face, and a whole host of other different villains within the Batman universe. If you purchase the game new, you will be able to play as Catwoman within the game's main story. I found it entertaining to play as Catwoman, and seeing her own motives within Arkham City, as well as her plot and how it ties in with Batman's. However, I do have an issue with this story, is that it does not seem to have much of a backstory of what occurred between Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. Regardless, the story was very solid. The plot was attention-grabbing and exciting, wanting me to play until the very end, as well as having some surprising yet interesting plot twists within the game's main storyline. The visuals, like the last game, are very nice. There have been slight improvements in the character models, looking slightly more crisp, colorful, and smooth in comparison to the last game.
What the hell made that woman come in here and do all this? Why kill us?
Quinn's only priority is to protect Joker. She's dangerous.
The environments have also made an improvement, most notably the size being much larger this time around. Other improvements made are the environments being more colorful and distinct. The cutscenes, like its predecessor, do a good job at capturing the cinematic feel of the story, as well as having improvements in terms of animations, most notably the animations of the character models. They just seem to be more realistic and alive than in the previous game.
Fear. That's how we get respect. Show them all that we do things. We should be fair, though. This is a place of justice, after all. Screw justice. Kill her, and they'll all fear us. Bring out the defendant!
Overall, the presentation on the visuals are very good, and do an exceptional job at capturing the dark feel of the game. I'm planning to keep this category short and sweet. First, the music. Overall, the music is excellent to listen to, as it fits the general mood and theme of the game very well. For example, however, it would have been nice to hear some more music during exploration, as the music was predominantly playing during combat, cutscenes, or during missions. Not really any music playing when you just want to explore Arkham City.
I hate all these cameras. Look out!
As for the voice acting, it's excellent. All the voice actors do a solid job at when reprising their roles, fitting their roles brilliantly.
How's it hanging, Harv? Come to Kitty. Anyone ever tell you that you're full of surprises?
I figured you could use my help, Selina.
You're right. I think I chipped a nail back there.
Funny.
So what do you need, Mr. Detective?
Protocol 10. What do you know, Selina?
Never heard of it.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
Ultimately, it's an A+. Now for the gameplay, the most important aspect of any game. The gameplay can be divided into two aspects, combat and exploration. First, let's start with exploration. First, let's start with the map. Your map can be accessed in the select menu. Your map will illustrate icons which will show you where a number of events are currently located, as well as where you're currently located. There have been improvements in the navigation. The first is that you can now mark your waypoint of where you want to go. This in conjunction goes with the second improvement is what I can basically describe as a navigation bar, which is basically a bar that shows you if you're going in the right direction of your chosen destination. However, while it has improved exploration for the game, it would have been better if they would have incorporated something like a mini-map instead of this mechanic. Now for the events you can interact with. First, let's start with the main story missions, indicated by a green icon with an exclamation mark in the middle of the icon. Some examples of the missions you'll run into are searching for forensic evidence, fighting enemies, and looking for certain people. Overall, these missions were enjoyable for me. For the story objectives, your navigation bar will automatically locate story missions for you without you having to mark a waypoint yourself. Overall, this is quite useful and saves time. There are also a good number of side missions for the player to do as well, indicated by a light blue icon on your map. Overall, these side missions give you a good variety of objectives to do. Some examples include interrogating people, looking for forensic evidence, and doing time challenges. Certain side missions cannot be unlocked until you have completed a certain amount of the story, so I would recommend you completing the story mode before doing anything else. The Riddler also makes a return appearance with his own side mission as well as having a much larger role in the game this time around. Like in the last game, he has scattered a number of trophies and riddles for you to collect. The trophies this time around are not just to simply find them. Now most of these trophies are much more engaging, where you will have to solve some mini puzzles in order to collect a trophy. These puzzles are quite varied, which makes them fairly fun to complete. You also have a good number of riddles to solve as well. Some may involve you looking at a particular area or at a certain point of view. Overall, these are nice, enjoyable riddles to solve. To make collecting these riddles and trophies easier, you can interrogate certain inmates that work for the Riddler to show the locations of some of the trophies and riddles that the Riddler has placed around Arkham City.
What about Riddler?
Riddler? Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Like Batman, Catwoman also has her own set of trophies to collect. However, it would have been nice if she had her own set of riddles to solve as well. When finding riddles, you will unlock the history or some notable information on the riddles that you find around Arkham City. You also have what are known as physical challenges. These challenges will involve you performing, well, as the name suggests, physical tasks, such as pulling off specific melee attacks and predator takedowns, fighting enemies under certain conditions, using a gadget a certain number of times, or performing certain acrobatic stunts. Like Batman, Catwoman also has her own set of physical challenges to do as well. Collecting these trophies and finding riddles will unlock features such as concept art, viewing character models, unlocking challenge maps, which I'll go over later in this review, and unlocking character bios. These bios are also unlocked through the main storyline as well. Collect enough Riddler trophies and solve enough riddles, the Riddler will contact Batman to give you a riddle to solve with some multiple choice answers. If you manage to solve the Riddler will give you the location of where he has trapped a hostage. Once there, to rescue the hostage, you will have to go through a series of lethal puzzles and traps that the Riddler has placed for you. All in all, this makes the Riddler challenges more engaging and enjoyable than in the last game.
What are you doing?
You're safe now.
During exploration as well as combat, Batman will collect an array of gadgets at his disposal to help him. Like in the last game, you have an access to gadgets such as the explosive gel, which can destroy weak structures, and Batman's signature weaponry like his Batarang, as well as introducing some new gadgets such as the REC gun, which releases a non-lethal blast of electricity to temporarily stun enemies or open specific doors. And finally, being able to manipulate magnetic objects. Catwoman, like Batman, also has her own set of gadgets and weaponry at her disposal, such as her whip, which can temporarily stun enemies. Her whip is also capable of traversing between high vantage points, such as rooftops. The game also features the return of Detective Mode. This mode, or gadget, allows you to locate enemies, locate weak structures, solve riddles, and highlighting specific vantage points, finding certain objects that might be useful, and find which areas and buildings are accessible. Catwoman also has her own version of Detective Mode as well. Fighting enemies, doing side quests, and doing story missions earns you experience, which can be used to purchase upgrades. This time around, upgrades are much more organized than in Arkham Asylum. Upgrades are now put into their own separate categories. Upgrades for your Batsuit, gadget upgrades or new gadgets, and new melee combat and predator combat upgrades and techniques. Catwoman also receives her own set of upgrades. Overall, the system and how it is organized is much more accessible, simplistic, and just simply better than in the previous game. Now for the combat part of gameplay. Like in Arkham Asylum, combat is split into two types, melee combat and predator combat. For the melee combat, you have four basic attack and movements: strike, counter, stun, and jump. The counter and stun attacks have had some improvement. With the counter attacks, you are now able to counter multiple enemies at once. This improvement feels more realistic, as Batman would have multiple enemies coming at him at the same time, not just one at a time. As for the stun attacks, you now have the ability to perform a super stun. This is basically a 3-hit combo using the stun attack. All in all, Arkham City has had some excellent changes to its melee combat system. All of these attack and movements can be used to pull off strings of combos. The higher your string of combos, the more experience you gain within the story mode. It's more than just stringing combos though. What will also be counted in giving you experience is your variation bonus. This is how many different attacks you use within a fight. What will also be counted in giving experience is your gadget variation bonus. This is how many different gadgets you use within a fight, and or adding attacks from gadgets to your string of combos. Also, the higher your string of combos, the more chances you have of landing what's known as a critical strike, which does more damage than a basic strike. Also, certain attacks can only be performed when you get your combo string high enough. Finally, each attack will earn you a certain amount of experience. There are also different types of enemies, even more so than Arkham Asylum. The first are the basic melee thugs, who just use their fists. They may be holding a weapon such as a knife, but striking or countering them should easily stop them. Next, there are the guys with shields. They can't be hit with just a normal strike, so you must first stun them and perform an aerial strike. Next, there are the guys with electrical rods. They cannot be taken down with normal strikes either. Instead, you must get behind them and then strike. Both shield and electric rod enemies can be countered directly if you get your combo string high enough. Next, the enemies with swords. They are much quicker than your regular thug. Also, their attacks are more unpredictable and can be taken down by either striking them directly or countering their attacks. However, they are able to dodge attacks from your gadgets, a majority of the time. unless you stun them. Next, we have the armored henchmen. To hurt these henchmen, you must stun them and perform a beatdown. They can also be knocked back using the remote electrical charge. Now for the enemies with giant weaponry. Also, these enemies do more damage than most henchmen, and are more resistant to damage. These henchmen can only be hurt by a beatdown. These enemies are slow, which makes them fairly easy to dodge. Lastly, the Titan henchmen. To take them down, you must first perform a super stun and continuously strike them. You can temporarily take control of them, making them quite useful when surrounded by enemies. So to sum up, a fast-paced melee combat system with some strategy involved, and has some nicely added features and improvements in comparison to its predecessor. Now for Predator combat. Specifically, this is used for enemies that are armed. As you know, being shot with a bullet takes a lot of health. Therefore, a direct attack would be suicidal to Batman. So you, as Batman, have to use stealth to your advantage. This means you need to take down enemies without being seen. You have a number of options to stealthily take down enemies. For example, to take down enemies silently from behind. You can also use your environment to your advantage. For example, taking down enemies from high vantage points, through walls, windows, etc. You also have the ability to use your gadgets in Predator combat. For instance, planting your explosive gel on weakly structured walls to blow up the wall in order to knock out enemies nearby. Using detective mode during Predator combat, you're able to see all the enemies in your area, as well as other features such as being able to see through doors and walls, being able to distinguish between armed and unarmed enemies, as well as the number of armed and unarmed enemies, and being able to check things such as heart rate and physical condition, and lastly, what weapons and or items enemies are carrying. Catwoman, when in detective mode, can only locate enemies in the area or view them through walls and ceilings. Catwoman's detective mode cannot distinguish between armed and unarmed enemies, physical condition and heart rates of the enemies, and what weapons and or items enemies are carrying. Now for the types of armed thugs. There are two types. The first are the basic armed thugs. Their guns shoot at short range and have a high rate of fire. The second are the snipers. Their guns shoot at long range with a lower rate of fire than your basic armed thugs. Also, they are found at high areas. Overall, a great system with some nice added takedowns that have been introduced in this sequel. Next, we have the challenge maps, located in Riddler's Revenge in the main menu. These challenges are combat challenges for you to complete. In a challenge, your main goal is to acquire medals by meeting certain requirements. In the melee challenges, you acquire medals by collecting points within the challenge. You gain points in the melee challenges the same way you gain experience in the story single player. However, there are two added features in the melee challenges. The first is the flawless free flow combo. This is where you have to continue your combo throughout the entire round without fail. The second is the perfect round bonus. This is given to you if you do not take any damage during the round. In total, there are 4 rounds for each melee challenge map. A medal will have its own value of points. If you have gathered the points required, that medal is yours. To obtain the remaining medals, you need to gather more points. There are 3 medals for each challenge map. This means 3 medals requires more points than 2 medals, and 2 medals requires more points than 1 medal. Also, each challenge map will have its own value of points required to obtain the medal. This means in one challenge map, to obtain 1 medal will require you to gather 6,000 points, while in another may require you to gather 8,000 points. Next, we have the Predator challenge maps. The Predator challenge maps also allow you to earn medals. However, with these medals, to acquire them, you have to perform certain takedowns under possible conditions. For example, one medal may require the player to silently take down an enemy while under dense smoke. Also, Predator challenges, like the melee challenges, have 3 medals to collect.
Where the hell did he get smoke from? How come we don't have smoke?
Now for the 3 types of challenge options. The first are the rank challenges, which contains your basic challenge maps. You collect medals and compare your stats with those online on the leaderboard. For the melee challenges, the total points you gain are uploaded to the leaderboard, while in Predator, the time it takes you to complete a challenge is uploaded. However, your stats don't get uploaded unless you are actually signed in online. This means when you sign in, the stats that you received will not be uploaded if you were offline during the time that you were doing the challenge. This means if you beat your high score in the melee challenges and beat your time in the predator challenges, they will not be uploaded if you receive the stats offline when you sign in. This can be a bit irritating that you cannot upload your stats to the leaderboard if you're doing a challenge map offline. This is especially a problem if you disconnect from the server when doing a ranked challenge. Hopefully a minor annoyance that will be fixed if there's a sequel. In total there are 24 challenge maps in the ranked mode, 12 predator combat and 12 melee combat. Next are the campaign challenges. In this mode you're given 3 challenge maps in each campaign challenge. Usually these challenges are a mixture of both predator and melee challenges. This time around you have what are known as modifiers. These will give the player advantages or disadvantages during gameplay. Each campaign challenge has different modifiers. The player has the ability to choose up to 3 modifiers of their choice in the challenge map. For the first and second challenge map, you have the ability to choose what modifiers you want to use in the challenge map, as well as if you even want to use any modifiers at all. Also, you can only use a modifier once. This means if you've used a modifier in the first challenge map, you won't be able to use it for the remaining 2. However, you lose this freedom when you go into the third and final challenge map, and all the modifiers are turned on regardless, except the ones that you've already used. This means you have to be strategic with what modifiers you use for each challenge map. This overall gives a nicely balanced and well-rounded system. At the end of a campaign challenge, you will see how many out of 9 medals you have collected for a campaign challenge. In total, there are 12 campaign challenges. Lastly, the custom challenges, which are basically the same as ranked challenges, however you don't have your stats uploaded online. Instead, you have the ability to choose your modifiers like in the campaign challenges for each challenge map instead. However, you now have the ability to choose as many modifiers as you want. This gives the player the chance to challenge him or herself and be more creative in the challenge maps. Overall, these challenge modes are very entertaining and give the player a challenge in some fairly creative ways. The last part to gameplay is the Game Plus mode. This mode can only be unlocked if you've completed the main storyline. In this mode you play from the beginning of the game, however the difficulty of the AI has increased, and you also have access to all the gadgets and upgrades you've acquired in the story single player. All in all, a grand addition to the game. Ultimately, Batman Arkham City is a worthy sequel to Arkham Asylum, with an engrossing story, improved visuals and sound, fast-paced gameplay with some creative gameplay mechanics, and a solid variety of content presenting itself to be a very solid game.